Yasmin Davila?
Yes.
Davila, you're charged with driving while intoxicated. You're facing up to 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one will be appointed to you, man.
Yes,
Okay.
On October 17, 2024, the officer was dispatched to a one motor vehicle accident at 2000 block of Forest Oaks Road in Harris County, Texas. Upon arrival, the officer observed the defendant standing near the driver's side door of his vehicle, and the officer observed the vehicle to be completely disabled since it had crashed against a large tree. The defendant admitted to being the sole occupant and driver of the vehicle, and the officer observed the defendant to have slurred speech, a moderate odor of an alcoholic beverage, and red glossy eyes. The defendant admitted to drinking, and standard field sobriety tests were conducted. HGN 6 out of 6, walk and turn 6 out of 8, and the one leg stand was 3 out of 4. The DIC was read, but the defendant refused, and a blood warrant was obtained and executed.
Okay, Ms. Davila, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. Do you have a Texas driver license, ma'am? Do you have valid liability insurance in your name?
No.
Then you're not allowed to drive. If you don't have car insurance, you may not drive, and I'm making that a condition of your bond. I'm also ordering you not to consume alcohol or illegal drugs. I'm going to randomly test you. If I find that you're consuming alcohol or any kind of dope, I will put you in jail. Alex, she has a prior obstruction of a highway. Those are usually DWIs that are reduced to either like a reckless or a obstruction. Is this a prior DWI that was reduced? And if you can run her to see if she has any DWIs from elsewhere, please.
Yes, Your Honor, and the obstruction does not appear to be a prior DWI that was
Is it
reduced.
true obstruction?
Yes, Your Honor, and I'll run her NCIC and double check for you.
Please.
Your Honor, she has no other prior DWIs or open
Okay.
cases.
The reason I'm asking that, ma'am, is that if I see that you had any prior contacts, I would put an interlock on your car. I'm not going to at this point, but I am ordering you not to consume alcohol or illegal drugs. If I find that you're consuming anything, I will revoke your bond, put you in jail. You will not get any more PR bonds. Do you understand?
I do.
What do you do for a living, man? How old are you?
I'm 20. I'm a bartender.
You're 20?
8.
You're 28. Where do you bartend at? At a local bar?
Heights. No, I live 30 minutes away from it.
Be careful. Temptation is high when you work in a bar. Understand, I'm not going to accept this. Oh, a beer fell into my mouth, or I slipped and fell and alcohol came. Doesn't matter. Don't consume alcohol. You understand? How much money do you make a month, man?
Say 2,000.
Are you married?
I'm not.
Children? Can you afford a lawyer?
I can't. No.
Let's do this. I'll have you fill out an application. I need to know everything about you. I need to know how much money you have in the bank, your expenses, you know, all income that you have coming in from any other places, whether it be this or that. I need to know everything about you, and I'll see whether you qualify for an appointed lawyer. We'll have you fill that out. I'm now going to also have you sign an affidavit that you're not allowed to drive until you have car insurance. And then I'm going to have you sign a receipt with Victoria. You'll eventually get with pre-job bond conditions. Then we'll have you take your seat in the jury box. Okay, please. Are you Miss Nubin? Miss Nubin, you're charged with failure to stop and give information, which is leaving the scene of an accident without exchanging information. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you can't afford one, one will be appointed to you.
Yes. On October 16, 2024, the officers were dispatched to a citizen following a failure to stop and give information suspect in Harris County, Texas. The officer made contact with the complainant, whose vehicle had a large-sized dent in the rear quarter panel with damages that appeared to be new. The defendant's vehicle had minor dents and scratches on the left panel of the motor vehicle. The complainant stated he was driving when the defendant tried to change lanes into the lane the complainant was in, but the defendant ended up hitting the complainant instead. The complainant stated the defendant quickly drove southbound, stopped one time, and stated she would not provide information regarding an accident that had only caused some scratches and bumps. The complainant stated the defendant then drove away, and the complainant followed her to an apartment complex, with the gate closing before the complainant could follow her inside. The defendant stated she was driving. She attempted to get over to the far left lane. The complainant was on the phone and not paying attention, and she hit the complainant, causing minor scratches and dents. The defendant stated the complainant looked crazy, so she did not stop and kept driving into other parking lots to avoid the complainant. The defendant stated there were only minor damages, so she should not have to provide information. The damage was approximately $200.
Okay. Ms. Newman, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. Do you have a valid Texas driver license? You are not allowed to drive. I am making that a condition of your bond. You will be signing an affidavit with me today promising you're not going to drive. If I find that you drive, I will have a contempt hearing. You'll be facing an additional 6 months in jail and a $500 fine every time you drive. Do you understand? If you want to drive, all I'm asking you to do is follow the law, get a license, get liability insurance, and then I'll let you drive. But if I find that you drive in violation of this, there's going to be a heavy, heavy toll. Do you understand? What do you do for a living, man?
Hairstylist,
How much money do you make a month?
around 2,500.
Do you have any children?
Yes,
How many children do you have? Do you get support for the kids? You want to apply for an appointed lawyer? Okay, I'm gonna have you come up here, swear to us that you're not gonna drive. She's gonna give you an application for a court appointed lawyer. I need you to fill out everything for me and be honest, and I'll see whether you qualify. After that, I'll have you take a seat. I'll have you sign a receipt with Victoria, and then we'll have you take a seat in the jury box, right? Okay? Please. Ernest Javon Steed.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Steed, you're charged with violation of a bond condition or protective order. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes, Judge.
Okay.
On October 2nd, 2024, officers were dispatched to a disturbance at a residence in Harris County, Texas. The complainant stated that the defendant came to her apartment and rang the doorbell. The complainant has footage of the defendant from the doorbell camera showing him outside her apartment door trying to talk to her through the camera. On June 5th, 2024, the court issued a protective order which states the defendant is prohibited from coming within 200 feet of the complainant's residence, and the order is in full effect until June 5th, 2026. The defendant was given notice on May 31st, 2024 of the application of the order and was in a Zoom video on the date of the hearing.
Is this from the 280,
Yes, Your Honor.
the domestic violence court?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you know if he has any open cases now anywhere else? You mind checking?
I'll run NCSC, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Steed, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case. I want you to understand that the Texas Constitution does not allow me, but in extremely limited circumstances, to hold someone at no bond, zero bond. This is one of those cases that if we put conditions on your violation of protective order and you violate these conditions, I can have a hearing to hold you at no bond until this case is over with. And I will do that in a heartbeat to protect every single person of this county. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
I'm ordering you now not to have any contact with this person and not to be in possession of any weapons. I'm not asking much. I'm just asking you don't have any contact with this person. Don't go near within 200 feet of where they live or where they work. If you violate it again, you know what's going to happen. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Do you see a mark that's been granted on this one? I want to make you aware of one more thing, that I'm going to enter, and if there's not a protective order now, other than the one in there, I'm going to enter in a new one right now. And if you violate the protective order again, you will be charged with a third-degree felony, looking at 2 to 10 in the penitentiary, because a second or subsequent violation of protective order, that's a third-degree felony, and you're looking at a lot of time in prison. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
No means no. Doesn't mean maybe, doesn't mean she called me, asked me to come over. Just no means no. That's it. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm entering in what's called a magistrate's order for emergency protection. Magistrate order for emergency protection that identifies Brianna Ford as a protected individual. You cannot commit family violence or an assault against this person. Commit an act in furtherance of an offense under section 42.072 of the Texas Penal Code, which is the stalking statute. You cannot stalk, threaten, harass, use another person to communicate a threat or harassing behavior. You cannot go within 200 feet of where she lives or where she works, and you cannot be in possession of a weapon. Do you understand?
So,
No one can authorize you to violate this statute. So if she were to call you and say, hey, man, come on over, let's talk about this, and you go to that address listed in here, you're still in violation. So just don't have any contact with the person. Don't go over there and you'll be fine.
so,
What do you do for a living?
photographer, and I do Uber as well.
Do you have a Texas driver license?
Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi.
How
I'm
long?
back
do
and
you-
forth.
What's the domicile? Where do you live?
I live in Houston, but I do a lot of photography in Mississippi, so I kind of go back and forth on the weekends.
Do you have liability insurance in your name?
Yes,
Have car insurance in your name?
yes.
Okay. As long as you have car insurance in your name and you have a license and you may continue to drive, just don't violate this protective order.
Yes, sir.
We are going to give you time for you to hire a lawyer. So I'm going to have you come up here, sign the protective order. We'll give you a copy of the protective order. I'll have you sign a reset with Victoria. We'll have you take a seat while I get your bond conditions for you, no contact, no weapons. After you sign it, you'll be free to go. All right? Come on.
Yes, Joe.
People still meet on that website, allow people to come to their house. Just,
Yeah,
really? It's silly.
I guess it happens.
So someone you've never met before, you meet them off of a grinder and just let them, I don't get it. I don't,
Off of the wallet.
and then, yeah. So it'll be interesting to see when this person gets here.
It will. It will. Thanks for bringing it to our attention.
With legs.
Morning, Mr. Huey. How's jail?
I'm cold.
Yeah, that's true. It's cold, dark, smells. That's right. Your lawyer has asked for me to give you a PR bond. Why would I do that? You don't come to court. We give you a PR bond, you go back on the street, and then do whatever you want. You don't come back to court.
I'll make it this time. I promise.
Uh-huh. We've heard that before, Mr. Huey. Uh-huh. We've heard that before, Mr. Huey. He's asked for me to give you a PR bond. The only way I'm going to let you out is if you have a place to go to. I'm not letting you out to the street. If you have a place to go to, that someone's going to take you in and let you sleep there. And one of the conditions of your bond will be that you go to this place and that you stay there. I don't want you roaming the streets. Nothing good happens on the streets. How old are you? Oof,
Order in the court.
the hard living 42, man. You don't look 42. And I'm going to tell you, living on the streets, 15 years will pass in the blink of an eye. When you're 50, you're going to look like you're 120 because that's the hard living on the street. And I'm not down with that. And it's not going to happen here. So if you can find a place that's willing to take him in and that's willing to keep him there for an extended period, meaning that he stays there for most of the day and just roam the street using. If I drug test you now, what are you going to test positive for?
Yeah, probably wouldn't. Probably not. I'll be honest, probably not. Marijuana. And that's it.
What else?
That's it, marijuana.
I don't believe that. What else, Mr. Huey? If you're not honest with me, I'm not giving you a PR bond.
Silence in the court.
I did PCP about 2 weeks ago.
Stop.
Oh, we,
It's ruining your life.
yes, sir.
I don't see what the fascination of PCP is, man. Reach out, see who you can find out, who he's got in his life, who's ready to take him in, and then we'll talk. But if you find someone, I'm down, but not to the street.
Your Honor, if I'm unable to find someone, are you open to us approaching on
It's
it?
open to anything, of course. You know,
If he does elect to accept the plea offer from the district attorney and do the time served, is that?
I'm going to tell you this, Mr. Huey, now that I'm done with catch and release. And I'm done with the fact that you continue to pick up cases and then get out of here on time served. This is not a revolving door. So if you're someone who's going to continue to catch cases and get into jail, I'm going to have you TRAS. And if they recommend residential treatment, that's what we're going to do. So no more of this catch and release. Do you understand? Okay. All right. You let me know. Okay,
And Your Honor, just so you know, I do have the answer about this phone situation.
we'll talk. Okay,
It's for Gallendo.
so first,
Yes, sir. No, sir. Arms by your side. Whatever he asks you, answer truthfully, but briefly. All right.
Mr. Moorhead, you're charged with driving while intoxicated. Second offense, you are facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. You guys have worked out an agreement that they're going
Order
to
in the court.
reduce your case to a first. That avoids you from having to do 5 days in jail. That's why that is important. So I want you to understand, even though it gets reduced to a first, that's still 2 DWIs on your records. What happens on the next one?
He's wanting you to say
You know how many times I hear that every day? Take a guess.
every time that you're asked.
Every person that comes here, for every case that we have, on every week and every day of the 3,000 clients that we so-called have here, everyone says that. And the problem is that you never know when something catastrophic is going to happen in your life. Someone cheats on you, someone dies, and it makes you do something that you normally wouldn't do. The problem is that the law doesn't care. They still see too. And whatever happens in your life, even if you have a sip of alcohol and you get into a car and you get pulled over, all they care about is your record and how you look. And then now they're going to charge you with a felony DWI. And now you'll be facing 2 to 10 in the penitentiary. And I'm going to tell you, you don't have to be falling down piss ass drunk where you urinated all over yourself. It doesn't matter. The slightest smell of alcohol with a little glazed eyes and your record, we're looking at a lot of time in prison. You understand?
Yes, sir.
So what I'm trying to impart to you is that even if you have a sip of alcohol, I wouldn't get into a car because it's a humongous risk every time you drive. You give up a lot of rights by entering this agreement. You give up the right to a trial, right to compel witnesses to testify on your behalf, confront and cross-examine your accusers. If you're not a citizen, there are immigration issues. You can be deported, excluded from the country, denied naturalization. You give up the right to appeal. Once you plead guilty to this offense and you accept a probation, you cannot change this. It will reflect as a conviction until the day you die. Is this what you want to do?
Yes, sir.
How do you plead to the offense? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
I will find you guilty and I will follow the agreement. As far as I see, is it 1 year or is it?
It should be 6 months probated for 1 year.
So it's 180 days in jail to be probated for 1 year. As part of the agreement, you will do a repeat offender DWI education class.
It's similar to a class that it's just a little bit more intensive because it's a second offender class.
2 victim impact panels. A TRAS, which is an evaluation to see what conditions you may need. If they say that you need intensive outpatient treatment, you must fulfill that as well. No drugs, alcohol, no breath test refusal, meaning that if you were in a car and you get pulled over and an officer asks you to submit to a breath sample, you must take it. If you don't, you're in violation of the probation. You must also have a guardian interlock as well. Is this how you understand the conditions?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
How do you plead to the offense of driving while intoxicated? Guilty or not guilty?
Guilty, Your Honor.
I will find you guilty and I will send it to you the agreement. I'm going to suspend your license for 1 year.
As per our conversation earlier, Judge, I'll file the occupational today or tomorrow
Does
morning.
he have an interlock now?
Yeah, he already has the interlock.
Understand that we lead the nation in DWI fatalities. So officers, they don't care if you're not pissed drunk. They don't just, if they smell alcohol, they see 2 DWIs on your record, they're going to make the assumption and they're just going to take you down. That's why it's so much easier. One button, $20 will take you anywhere you want to go in the city. Call Uber. They should be your best friend.
My client, Judge, had unfortunate circumstances which led to him having to drive in this instance.
But the problem is that if you kill a 2-year-old kid, those unfortunate circumstances, no one cares about your unfortunate circumstances. All they care is the dead body on the side of the road. You know that I had a lady once I represented many moons ago, found that her husband was cheating on her in their bed, caught them in the bed, in the act. So she goes out and decides, you know what? That stupid MF, she goes to the club, picks up the first person she can find in spite to try to cheat on, gets in the car, gets loaded at the club, takes off, and over there on it was Hillcroft and Gessner, runs a light, kills the guy. She's now in prison, doing a very lengthy sentence. What happened to make you do whatever it was? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the sky fell, your grandmother died, your spouse cheated. None of that matters. What matters is the end result. And that's why I try to impart to you how important that is so that you realize that. Because we don't want to see you in prison, you know. Good luck to you, sir. Oh, well, hold on a second. We also need the fines and fees and surcharges. So what do you do for a living, sir?
There's a DPS surcharge, and he has to determine whether or not you can afford to pay it. So he's going to ask you a few financial questions.
What do you do for a living?
I'm retired.
Okay, from what?
The Army and from Exxon Research.
So you had a pretty good job while you were,
Yes, sir.
okay?
And I'm hired, Your Honor.
Okay, so you'll be required to pay the fines and fees and surcharges, and I'll give him 2 years to pay, so it'll end up being like $150, $120 a month. But it's reduced to a first, so it's $3,000 plus the court cost, and then 2 years to pay. All right, sir, best of luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge. Obviously, Mr. Moorhead, probation's going to need you in a moment.